man. You know what time it is, man. Welcome back, Shalom. Kingdom Builders, Road Trippers. Welcome back to the road trip, man. I'm Aharon the Scribe, man. I'm your favorite scribe out here, just reading this book for you, man. Reading these scrolls, man. Hallelujah. That's right. All right, man. Oh, it's good to see you, man. Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings to each and every single one of you, your dwelling places, your homes. That's right, man. Akim and Akatim, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, aunties and uncles, grandmas and grandpas, man. Shalom to your dwelling places, your children, your homes, right? Your loved ones, your friends, and your pets, man. Those little fur nagas, little fur babies. That's right, man. That's right, man. All praises to the Most High, Abba Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, man. All praises to Yahweh, the Overseer, Yahweh. Glory to Yahweh Shai, the King, man. That's right, man. Glory to him, man. Honors to the Ruach HaKodesh, wisdom. That's right. Honors to the Ruach HaKodesh. And my love and my respect goes out to each and every single one of you. You know that. You know that by now. You have to. You have to. Man, we've read so many books together by now. My goodness, man. I mean, you can see the running scroll. You can see the board at the end of the at the end of the chapters, man. We're about to add another one to it, man. At the end of this reading, we're gonna throw 2 Maccabees up on the board. Hallelujah. That's right. All right, man. Let's get some. All right, man. We're dipped in. All right, washed up, man. Bathed in water, bathed in fire. It's time to get some of these scrolls, man. If you want to follow along with me, that's cool. It's totally dope. I like it. So check this out. We're back here. In the Apocrypha, the book of 2nd Maccabees. This is going to be chapter 14 and 15. 15 is the finale. So we're going to go ahead and package them both up together and run this through the door. Then after we're done here, it's going to go over to the Eastern Orthodox Deuterocanon, which is known as 1st Esdras, otherwise known as 3rd Esdras, right? Because, also called, the Greek Ezra, right? So it's... Yeah, it's a little bit more. Just like we have some more of John in here. So, some more of John that's not in the regular, 66. All right? Hallelujah. So, anyway, no further ado. I'm done yapping, okay? Let's get chapter 14. And it's like, let's bust this one out the wrapper. Hallelujah, family. I love y'all, man. All praises to the Most High. Yeah, you got enough time if you already want to follow along. If not, just sit back, relax. I'm going to try to read my best, all right? 2nd Maccabees, chapter 14, to the door, man. Let's get it. Let's begin. All right, hallelujah. Chapter 14, and it reads, Now after a space of 3 years, tidings were brought to Judas and his company that Demetrius the son of Seleucus, having sailed into the haven of Tripolis with a mighty army and a fleet, had gotten possession of the country, having made away with Antiochus and Lysias his guardian, but one Alchemus, who was formerly been high priest and had willfully polluted himself in the times when there was no mingling with the Gentiles, considering that there was no deliverance for him in any way, nor any more access to the Kodesh altar, came to King Demetrius, and about the 151st year, presenting to him a crown of gold and a palm, and beside these some of the festal olive boughs of the temple. And for that day he held his peace, but having gotten opportunity to further his own madness, being called by Demetrius into a meeting of his council, and asked how the Yahudim stood affected, and what they purposed, he answered thereto, those of the Yahudim that he called Hazadeans, whose leader is Judas Maccabees, keep up war, and are seditious to not suffering the kingdom to find tranquility. For that reason, having laid aside my ancestral glory, I mean the high priesthood, I am now come here, first for the unfeigned care I have for these things that concern the king, and secondly because I have regard also to my own fellow citizens. For through the unadvised dealings of those of whom I spoke before, our whole race is in no small misfortune. But do you, O king, having informed yourself of these things severally, take thought, both of our country and for our race, which is surrounded by foes, according to the gracious kindness with which you receive all. For as long as Judas remains alive, it is impossible that the state should find peace. And when he had spoken such words as these, at once the rest of the king's friends, having ill will against Judas, inflamed Demetrius yet more, and with appointing Nicanor, who had been master of the elephants, and making him governor of Judea, he sent him out, giving him written instructions to make away with Judas himself, and to scatter those who were with him, and to set up Alcimus as high priest of the great temple. And those in Judea that had before driven Judas into exile thronged to Nicanor in flocks, supposing that the misfortunes and calamities of the Yahudim would be successes to themselves. But when the Yahudim heard of Nicanor's inroad and the assault of the heathen, they sprinkled earth upon their heads and made solemn supplication to him who had established his own people forevermore, and who always, making manifest his presence, upholds those who are his own portion. See, whenever it's time to fight, it's time to pray, it's time to fast, it's time to rip our clothes, it's time to put dirt on our heads, it's time to, you know what I'm saying, it's time to stop eating, it's time to stop drinking, it's time to do the bare minimum and just pray day and night, until it's time to fight, and then we win. Hallelujah. 16. And when the leader had given his commands, he immediately set out from there and joined battle with them at the village called Lesau. And Simon, the brother of Judas, had encountered Nicanor, yet not until late, having received a check by reason of the sudden consternation caused by his adversaries. Nevertheless, Nicanor, hearing of the manliness of those who were with Judas, and their courage in fighting for their country, shrank from being the matter to the decision of the sword. For that reason, he sent Posidonius and Theodotus and Mattathias to give and receive pledges of friendship. So when these proposals had been long considered, and the leader had made the troops acquainted therewith, and it appeared that they were all of like mind, they consented to the covenants. And they appointed a day on which to meet together by themselves. And a litter was borne before from each army. They set chairs of state. Judas stationed armed men ready in convenient places, lest perhaps they should suddenly be treachery on the part of the enemy. They held such conference as was meet. Nicanor waited in Jerusalem and did nothing to cause disturbance, but dismissed the flocks of people and had gathered together, and he kept Judas always in his presence. He had gained a hearty affection for the man. He urged him to marry and beget children. He married, settled quietly, took part in common life. But Alcimus, perceiving the goodwill that was between them, and having got possession of the covenants that had been made, came to Demetrius and told him that Nicanor was ill affected toward the state, for he had appointed that conspirator against this kingdom, Judas, to be his successor. Man, he's up here just, spreading all kind of ill will. Oh, wow. 27. And the king, falling into a rage and being exasperated by the false accusations of the most wicked man, wrote to Nicanor, signifying that he was displeased at the covenants, and commanding him to send Maccabees prisoner to Antioch in all haste. And when this message came to Nicanor, he was confounded, and was sore troubled at the thought of annulling the articles that had been agreed upon, the man having done no wrong. But because there was no dealing against the king, he watched his time to execute his purpose by stratagem. But Maccabees, when he perceived that Nicanor was behaving more harshly in his dealings with him, and that he had become ruler in his customary bearing, understanding that this harshness came not for good, gathered together not a few of his men, and concealed himself from Nicanor. But the other, when he became aware that he had been bravely defeated by the stratagem of Judas, came to the great and Kodesh temple, while the priests were offering the usual sacrifices, and commanded them to deliver up the man. And when they declared with oaths that they had no knowledge where the man was whom he sought, he stretched out his right hand toward the sanctuary, and swore his oath, "If you will not deliver up to me, Judas, as a prisoner, I will lay this temple of Yahweh, even with the even with the ground, and will break down the altar, and I will erect here a temple to Bacchus for all to see. And having said this, he departed. But the priests stretched out their hands toward heaven, called upon him that ever fights for our nation, in these words: You, O Yahweh, Elohim, most high of the universe, who in yourself have need of nothing, was well pleased that a sanctuary of your habitation should be set among us. So now, O Kodesh Yahweh, most high of all hallowing, keep undefiled forever this house that has been lately cleansed. Now information was given to Nicanor against one Raziz, an elder of Jerusalem, as being a lover of his countrymen, and a man of very good report, and one called Father of the Jews, the Yahudim, for his goodwill toward them. For in the former times, when there was no mingling with the Gentiles, he had been accused of cleaving to the Yahudim's religion, and had jeoparded body and life with all earnestness for the religion of the Yahudim. And Nicanor, wishing to make evident the ill will that he bore to the Yahudim, sent above 500 soldiers to take him, for he thought by taking him to inflict a calamity upon them. But when the troops were on the point of taking the tower, and were forcing the door of the court, and bade bring fire and burn the doors, he, being surrounded on every side, fell upon his sword, choosing rather to die nobly than to fall into the hands of the wicked wretches, and suffer outrage unworthy of his own nobleness. But since he missed his stroke through the excitement of the struggle, and the crowds were now rushing within the door, he ran bravely up to the wall, and cast himself down manfully among the crowds. But as they quickly gave back, a space was made, and he fell on the middle of his side. And having yet breath within him, he being inflamed with passion, he rose up, and though his blood gushed out in streams, and his wounds were grievous, he ran through the crowds, and standing upon a steep rock, when, as his blood was now well near spent, he drew out his bowels through the wound, and taking them in both his hands, he shook them at the crowds, and calling upon them who is the most high of the life and of the Ruach, to restore these again. Thus he died. So he ran up on top of the rock, pulled out his own guts, and threw them at the crowd, and then died after he confessed the name of the Most High. Man, it was wild, bro. That's the end of chapter 14. Wow. Yeah, man. People were built different back then. What does chapter 15 say, family? What does it say? Let's find out together. Let's go. All right, chapter 15, and it reads: But Nicanor, hearing that Judas and his company were in the region of Samaria, resolved to set upon them with all security on the day of rest. And when the Yahudim were compelled to follow him, said, O destroy not so savagely and barbarously, but give due glory to the day which he has seized all things, has honored and hallowed above all other days. Then the thrice accursed wretched asked if there were a sovereign in heaven that had commanded to keep the Shabbat day. And when they declared, there is the Elohim living himself a sovereign in heaven, who commanded us to observe the seventh day, the Shabbat day. Then says the other, I also am a sovereign upon the earth, who now command to take up arms and execute the king's business. Nevertheless, he prevailed not to execute his cruel purposes. And Nicanor, bearing himself haughtily in all vain pride, had determined to set up a monument of complete victory over Judas and all those who were with him. But Maccabees stood trusted unceasingly with all hope that he should obtain help from the Most High. And he exhorted his company not to be fearful at the inroad of the heathen, but keeping in mind the help which of old they had oftentimes received from heaven. So now also to look for the victory which would come to them from the Almighty El Shaddai, and comforting them out of the law and the prophets, and withal putting them in mind of the conflicts that they had maintained, he made them more eager for the battle. And when he had roused their Ruach, he gave them his commands. At the same time, pointing out the perfidiousness of the heathen, and their breach of their oaths, and arming each one of them not so much with the sure defense of shields and spears as with the encouragement that lies in good words, and moreover relating to them a dream worthy to be believed. He made them all exceedingly glad. And the vision of the dream was this: he saw Onias, him that was high priest, a noble and good man, reverend in bearing, yet gentle in manner, and well spoken, and exercised from a child in all points of virtue, with outstretched hands invoking blessings on the whole body of the Yahudim. Thereupon he saw a man appear of venerable age and exceedingly glory, and wonderful and most majestic was the dignity around him. And Onias answered and said, This is the lover of the kindred, he who prays much for the people, and he and the Kodesh city, Jeremiah, the prophet of Yahweh. And Jeremiah, stretching out his right hand, delivered to Judas the sword of gold, and in giving it addressed him, saying, Take the Kodesh sword, a gift from Yahweh, with which you will strike down the adversaries. And being encouraged by the words of Judas, which were a lofty strain, and able to entice the virtue and to stir the souls of the young and manly courage, they determined not to carry on a campaign, but nobly to bear down upon the enemy, and fighting hand to hand with all courage, bring the matter to an issue, because the city and the sanctuary and the temple were in danger. It's time to get to war. It's time to get to war. All right, let's finish this up, man. Verse 18. For their fear for wives and children, and furthermore for kindred and kinsfolk, was in less account with them. But greatness and first was their fear for the consecrated sanctuary. And they also that were shut up in the city were in no light distress, being troubled because of the encounter in the open ground. And when all were now waiting for the decision of the issue, and the enemy had already joined battle, and the army had been set in array, and the elephants brought back to the convenient post, and the horsemen drawn upon the flank, Maccabees, perceiving the presence of the troops and the various arms with which they had equipped, and the savageness of the elephants, holding up his hands to heaven, called upon the Most High that works wanderers, recognizing the success comes not by arms, but by according to the Most High will judge. He gains the victory for those who are worthy. And calling upon the Most High Yahweh, he said after this manner, You, O sovereign Most High, did send your angel in the time of Hezekiah, king of Judea, and he killed of the army of Sennacherib as many as 185,000. So now also, O sovereign of the heavens, send a good angel before us to bring terror and trembling. Through the greatness of your arm, let them be stricken with dismay, and with blasphemy are come here against your Kodesh people. And as he ended with these words, Nicanor and his company advanced with trumpets and victory songs. But Judas and his company joined battle with the enemy with invocation and prayers, and contending with their hands and praying to Elohim Yahweh with their hearts. They killed no less than 35,000 men, being made exceedingly glad by the manifestation of Yahweh. And when the engagement was over, and they were returning again with joy, they recognized Nicanor lying dead in full armor. And there arose a shout and tumult, and then the blessed, the sovereign Elohim in the language of their fathers, and he that in all things was in body and soul and foremost champion of the fellow citizens, he that kept through life the goodwill of his youth toward the countrymen, commanded to cut off Nicanor's head and his hand with the shoulder, and bring them to Jerusalem. And when he had arrived there, and had called his countrymen together, and set the priest before the altar, he sent for those who were in the citadel, and showing the head of the vile Nicanor, and the hand of that profane man, which with proud brags he had stretched out against the Kodesh house of the Almighty El Shaddai, and cutting out the tongue of his impious Nicanor, he said that he would give it by pieces to the birds, and hang up the rewards of his madness near the sanctuary. And they all, looking up to heaven, blessed the Most High, who had manifested himself, saying, Blessed be he that is preserved his own place undefiled. All right, man. Verse 35, to the door. And he hanged Nicanor's head and shoulder from the citadel, a sign evident to all and manifest of the help of the Most High Yahweh. And they all ordained with a common decree, in no wise to let this day pass undistinguished, but to mark with honor the 13th day of the 12th month. It is called Adar in the Syrian tongue, and the day before the day of Mordecai. Mordecai. This then having been the issue of the attempt of Nicanor, and the city having from those times been held by the Hebrews, the Israelites, I also will here make an end of my book. 38. And if I have written well and to the point of my story, this is what I myself desired. But if meanly and indifferently, this is all I could attain to. For as it is distasteful to drink wine alone, and in like manner again to drink water alone, while the mingling of wine with water at once gives full pleasantness to the flavor, so also the fashioning of the language delights the ears of those who read the story. And here will be the end. That's the end of chapter 15, thus the end of 2nd Maccabees, family. That's it. And now we're going to be moving in to 1st Esdras, also wise known as Esdras 3, right? Considering Ezra, right? Talk about the Greek dialect, man. Right, man. There's a lot of things, man. We can get into the Septuagint too, man. Oh man, we can get into a lot of stuff. But in the meantime, in between time, thanks for this road trip. That's the end of the 2 Maccabees for right now. Of course, we got to get 3 Maccabees, 4 Maccabees later. You know what I'm saying? Before we get what? Because we also got to get Enoch, Jasher. You know what I'm saying? We got to get Jubilees, right? That's right. Got to get 2nd Ezra, 4 Maccabees, 3 Maccabees. All right, man. So we got a lot of work to do. But in the meantime, let's just bask in the glory of finishing up another book. Let's get ready for Esdras 1, or 3 Esdras, Ezra. And let's get ready to start, all right? I'll see y'all in about an hour or two. All right, let me go ahead and package this one up. I'll see y'all in the meantime, in between time. Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings to each and every single one of y'all kingdom builders, road trippers, Akim and Akatim, man, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, aunties and uncles, grandmas and grandpas, loved ones, friends, and pets. All that good stuff that you need in your life, Mr. McCann. All right, man. All praises to the Most High. I'll see you soon. I love you. Yeah.